Welcome back, everybody, for another daily deep dive into the news.
That's right.
Today, like always, we're going to be navigating, a pretty wild mix of extreme weather,
Yeah.
political clashes, and maybe, hopefully,
There's,
some glimmers of hope.
yeah, we'll see. We got to find the hope somewhere, right?
Always. Buckle up. So first up, the U.S. is really getting hammered by some seriously intense weather. You know, a century ago, the tri-state tornado tore through the Midwest
Oh, wow.
and killed 695 people.
100 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a chilling reminder of just how powerful nature can be.
It is, and unfortunately, we're kind of seeing echoes of that devastation right now. You know, tornadoes, wildfires, dust storms, all sweeping across the country. Forecasters are even using the term high risk,
Well,
which is unusual.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
No, not at all. And at least 35 people have already lost their lives.
It's just tragic. And all of this extreme weather is, happening while we've got these really heated debates going on about energy and climate. Like, just look at what's happening at CERAWeek, the nation's top energy conference
Right.
down in Houston.
Yeah.
Community activists were straight up barred from entering.
Really?
They tried to buy tickets. These things cost like over $10,000, and they still wouldn't let them in.
That's crazy. I mean, $10,000, that's a lot of money to just get shut out.
I know. It's a big deal. So,
Well, this whole clash is kind of symbolic of a much larger disconnect that we're seeing. I mean,
Yeah.
these activists, they're raising the alarm about the health risks that are tied to fossil fuels. I mean, they point to places like Cancer Alley in Louisiana,
right.
where communities are literally suffering. But then you go to CERAWeek, and it's all about the industry leaders pushing this energy additions narrative.
So it's all about growth, but not consequences.
Exactly.
Yeah. Speaking of consequences, did you see that study about how heat can actually age you as much as smoking?
I did. Yeah. It's a fascinating look at how heat exposure can actually alter our DNA,
Yeah.
which can then impact long-term health. And you think about it with climate change making these heat waves so much more frequent and so much more intense, we're not just facing a future of discomfort. I mean, we're potentially facing a future of accelerated aging and just, a wave of health problems.
It's really scary. And it makes you wonder, where's the accountability? Like that Peruvian farmer who's suing a German energy giant for glacial melt that's actually threatening his home.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a prime example.
Yeah, and you know what? These lawsuits are gaining traction as more and more people are demanding that, these corporations need to answer for their role in this whole climate crisis. I mean, it's a legal battleground for sure, but it really does raise that crucial question of who pays for climate impacts, who should be held responsible.
Exactly. I mean, meanwhile, in the political arena, former President Trump is on a roll. I mean, he's already scrapped 19 of Biden's executive orders, and many of them were targeting climate and environmental regulation.
He is, yeah. And his attack on California's EV mandate, that's a particularly interesting one, I think. I mean, the GAO, the Government Accountability Office, has stated that Congress doesn't even have the power to revoke the EPA waiver that Biden gave California.
So you're saying this could be like a major legal showdown?
Oh, absolutely. This is going to be big.
Okay, so even if the courts block these rollbacks, I mean, these legal battles themselves, they could delay climate action for years. It's almost as if they're weaponizing the legal system to just stall progress.
It's a tactic, unfortunately. I mean, we see this often, and it's not just coming from the White House, I mean, almost 200 environmental and legal groups, they're sounding the alarm about the fossil fuel industry's push for legal immunity from climate lawsuits.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, they're trying to shield themselves from any responsibility, which could then leave taxpayers footing the bill for these climate disasters.
It feels like such a cynical strategy. I mean, protecting their profits while the world suffers the consequences.
Yeah, I mean,
but let's look beyond the U.S. for a moment. I mean, there are some glimmers of hope emerging in other parts of the world.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
Ecuador is a prime example. I mean, an Ecuadorian court just ordered a halt to oil operations on lands that are inhabited by uncontacted indigenous peoples.
Wow.
It's groundbreaking. It's actually the first ruling by an international court to recognize the rights of these communities who are living in involuntary isolation.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's pretty amazing.
It's a powerful statement. I mean, it's about prioritizing human rights and protecting these vulnerable populations. And it also kind of echoes the recent referendum in Ecuador, where citizens voted to keep oil in the ground, even though there were economic implications.
Right, right. Yeah. And that, that really highlights this growing tension between economic development and environmental protection. I mean, it's a tension that's playing out all over the world. We're seeing this shift in priorities as more and more people are grappling with the true cost of progress. And what does progress really mean? I mean, at what cost?
It's a huge question.
It is. It is a huge question. And it's something that we all need to be thinking about. I mean, every day.
Oh, I agree.
Every decision that we make, it has an impact. And it's our responsibility to be aware of that impact and to make choices that are aligned with our values.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
So it seems like more and more people are realizing that, clinging to fossil fuels is a dead end.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's becoming clearer and clearer. It's a global reckoning, I think. But as with any major shift, I mean, there's going to be pushback. There's going to be roadblocks.
Right.
And we're seeing that. I mean, look at the Trump administration's decision to just halt talks on the Columbia River Treaty.
Yeah, this treaty, it's been in place for like over 60 years.
I know. That's a lot.
Time. It governs, water management, energy production, all on the Columbia River.
Huge implications.
So what happens, like, if it just falls apart?
Well, I mean, it could unravel decades of cooperation between the U.S. and Canada. I mean, it could lead to all sorts of conflicts over water rights, flood control, hydroelectric power. I mean, we're talking about essential resources here. I mean, the potential for some serious disputes is definitely there.
It's kind of a stark reminder that international collaboration is so essential, especially as climate change keeps intensifying.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
But let's shift gears for a sec. Let's talk about something a little bit more positive. Remember that remarkable restoration of China's lowest plateau?
Oh, yeah. How can I forget that?
It was once considered like the most eroded place on Earth.
I mean, it's an incredible feat of ecological engineering. I mean, they transformed this barren landscape into these thriving forests and farmland. It proves that we can reverse environmental damage.
Yeah, it's really inspiring. But are there any drawbacks? I mean, to such a massive, restoration project?
That's a crucial question to ask, right? I mean,
Yeah.
While the Lost Plateau's transformation is impressive, no doubt, there are some concerns about its long-term sustainability. Large-scale revegetation like that, it can impact the regional water balance. It could potentially lead to shortages down the road.
So it's not just as simple as planting trees.
No.
We need to consider the whole interplay of ecosystems and resources.
The whole picture, yeah. It's a balancing act.
For sure. Speaking of innovative solutions, I mean, California is really leading the way with its new statewide plan to promote heat pumps.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big one.
This is a game changer. I mean, for decarbonizing buildings, these things they're incredibly efficient.
Right.
They're using electricity to move heat instead of generating it.
Right.
They can cut fossil fuel use in homes and businesses like drastically. Hugely. And you know what? California's plan is the first of its kind in the nation. And it signals this growing momentum that we're seeing for clean energy solutions. We're seeing similar initiatives popping up all around the world.
That's encouraging to hear.
It is.
Amidst all the challenges. But the question is it going to be enough?
Yeah.
And is it going to happen fast enough?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? I mean, we've seen a mix of hope and setbacks today. I mean, from the inspiring restoration of the lowest plateau to the troubling halt of those Columbia River Treaty talks. It's a reminder that the path to a sustainable future is complex. It's full of twists and turns. It's not going to be easy. Exactly.
And we've covered a lot of ground today, from extreme weather to political maneuvers, international conflicts, groundbreaking innovations. It can feel overwhelming at times.
Oh, for sure.
But it's important to remember that every action we take, even if it's small, it can contribute to a better future.
Absolutely. That's the key takeaway here. Staying informed, engaging in these conversations, making conscious choices in our daily lives. I mean, those are the steps that will ultimately drive meaningful change.
And it's clear that if we want to tackle these huge, global challenges,
Right.
we need a real shift in mindset.
Yeah.
We got to move beyond this short-term thinking
Yeah.
and embrace a long-term perspective.
Absolutely. I mean, we're talking about intergenerational responsibility. The decisions that we make today, they're going to have a huge impact on the lives of our children and our grandchildren.
Right. It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected. You know what? What happens in one part of the world,
Yeah.
it's going to ripple out
Of course.
and affect us all.
It does, and that's why international cooperation is so crucial, right? I mean, we need to break down these barriers and work together to find solutions. I mean, no single nation can solve this crisis alone.
No, it's a call for collective action. I mean, governments, businesses, communities, individuals, we all need to step up and play our part.
Yeah, and that starts with staying informed and staying engaged, right? Don't let the complexity of these issues paralyze you. I mean, empower yourself with knowledge.
Right.
Use your voice. Use your voice to demand change.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of it all.
Yeah.
But remember that even small actions can make a difference.
They do. They absolutely do. Every choice we make, from the products that we buy to the way that we vote, it sends a signal. We have the power to shape a more sustainable future. We do.
So as you go about your day-to-day, just consider the impact of your actions. Think about the legacy you want to leave for future generations.
And remember hope. Hope is not passive.
Yeah.
Hope is a verb.
I like that.
It's about taking action, however small, to create the world that we want to see.
That's a powerful message to end on. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into the news.
We hope you gain some valuable insights and feel inspired to make a difference.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed,
And stay engaged.
and stay engaged.